This is a Hall effect sensor module that I purchased from AliExpress. Inside the bag here we can see the kit module itself, and as we can see described on the packet, it is a Hall magnetic induction sensor, detection pole resolver, north and south detection module. So I've never used one of these Hall effect sensors before, and I thought it'd be an interesting little module to add to my collection. So let's take a look inside the package and see what we get. So as we can see, this is a fairly compact little kit. It's only got a few components that we need to install, so this might be a fairly quick kit to assemble. As usual, we do have a little instruction leaflet, and as usual it's in Chinese, so I can't read it, but it does tell us that the voltage required is 4.5 to 24 volts. We'll keep that in mind for later. It also lists the components that we should have in the kit, and I think it looks like everything we need will be here. So let's trust that's the case. And if we turn the paper over, we can see there is a schematic diagram on the back if you'd like to take a closer look about how this works. If we take a closer look at the PCB, we can see here everything is very clearly marked. We have the polarity for the diode, we also have the colors for the LEDs, so that's all quite nice. If we turn the board over, we can see it is a double-sided board, but there are only a couple of traces on the back, so fairly simple in design. With regard to the components, we have some resistors here, and according to the instruction leaflet, they will be 4.7K. We have a couple of capacitors. These should be 104s, and they'll both be the same. We've already seen the PCB, but we do have two LEDs. We also have a diode here. This is a rectifier diode. We also have some terminal blocks. We have this screw terminal block and this pin header that allows us to connect things. And finally, we have the sensor modules themselves here. So these components will actually allow us to detect the magnetic field. So I think it's time to turn the soldering iron on and we will get to assembling the board. So as usual, I think I'm going to start with these resistors just here. So we can see on the board, these are 4.7s and they both go in these two locations. So we'll pop those in. Next, I'm going to do this diode, and of course we have to make sure the band goes towards the band marked on the PCB. Next, I'm going to do these two capacitors. They go here and here on the board, but they are ceramic type, so it doesn't matter which direction they go in. So we just make sure they go into the board. Okay, next I'm going to do the LEDs, and we can see we have the blue LED and the red LED. And as usual, we can check the polarity using a coin cell battery here, so clearly marked positive, and the positive lead is usually the longest one, but we can of course check that by making connections just like so. And there we go, the blue LED lights up, longest lead was connected to the positive side there, and we can do the same with the red one as well, like so. And as you can see, the red one lights as well. So now we are certain of the polarity, we can make sure that we put these in the right way around, and the red one positive is there. And for the blue one, the positive is here. So we also have the pin header and terminal block, and we need to make sure that the terminals on the terminal block face outwards, so make sure you don't face it towards those LEDs, otherwise you won't be able to put any wires in. We also have the pin headers, and these go in just here. And then finally we have the last two components, which are the sensors themselves. And if we look carefully, we can see they have a shaped profile. Let's get the magnifying glass in as well, and hopefully you can see that more clearly. So they have a sort of chamfered edge on one side. And if we look on the PCB markings here, we can see there's also some kind of chamfered edge. And you'll note that it is the same, there you go, top and bottom. Now what we need to do is fold these sensors in. So actually what I'm going to do at this point is make a little fold in the wires with the tweezers here. And I'm going to make it so that the sensors are roughly in the middle of the sensor spot location. So just a few millimeters past the indentations on the legs there. And I'm going to give it a fairly sharp bend like that. So now I'm going to spread the pins here and see how that looks. That looks pretty good to me. So now, that one means that the IC here, the component is shaped correctly. And of course I need to make sure that this one is shaped in the opposite direction, but also facing towards the center. So this time I need to bend from the other side, but roughly the same distance. So let's do this like so, and hopefully it's not too bad. Let's put it in as well and see how this is, because we can still adjust it before we solder. So I'm fairly happy with these. I should be able to get them reasonably well aligned in the center here when I solder them in. So let's try and align them now and try and tack them in place pretty well aligned, and then we can solder them down. So to start with, I'm just going to solder the middle pin. And then we can just tweak them gently because they're only held in by that center pin and only really tacked in. So hopefully that's going to do the job. So these look pretty good. Just snip the extra leads off the back now. And that's the board completed. Of course, we do need to get power into the board. So I'm going to grab some wires and we'll see how this works. So here are some small wires. What I'm going to do is just fold over these ends so I can put them into the terminals nice and tightly. So as we read before, this kit requires between 4.5 and 24 volts. So I've set my power supply to 6 volts. I have the wires here. And we currently see nothing, but I've got these fun little fish magnets, just like so. So I'm going to hold it next to the sensor, and I'm not currently getting any effect at all. Oh, it's a bit hard to see, so these magnets obviously aren't very powerful, but if I hold them near the sensor, we can get positive and negative. So let's see if I can show that to the camera a bit better. So here we go, negative pole, positive pole, and we can move the magnet around. So that's one magnet, and here is another. That's the positive pole on the back of the fish and the negative pole on the front of the fish. So that's an interesting situation that these two fish have different polarities for their magnets. Of course, it doesn't really matter. These are just regular fridge magnets, so they're just decorative. The North Pole is near the mouth of this fish, and we now know that the South Pole is near the mouth of this fish. The back of the fish here, we have the North Pole, and the front of the fish, the South Pole near the mouth. South Pole near the tail of the fish, North Pole near the mouth of the fish. So I think that's a really fun little module. I don't know exactly what I'm going to use it for, but it does have a signaling system here that I can actually use to connect it to some kind of microcontroller. So it has a ground and has an indication for north and south. So I can actually use this to detect the polarity of magnets. So that might be a fun little use with a microcontroller in future. Nonetheless, I hope you found this video about the assembly of this Hall effect sensor interesting, and I hope to speak to you again soon in the next one.